What's up everyone? So welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are doing good. Welcome back to yet another episode of learning. So in today's video, I want us to talk about a condition that is really scary and most people don't love talking about it, but of course we have to talk about it. So in today's video, we'll be talking about cervical cancer. So in the past like 2 years, I don't know what is really happening out here, because statistics show that there has been a spike in cases of cervical cancer. So it is on a rise. So if it is on a rise or a spike, that means that the chances of getting it are very high. So what you need to know is that cervical cancer is preventable. I'm sure you have had a case of someone who has been battling, or someone who battled cervical cancer or any other type of cancer, and end of the day they lost the battle to cancer. So cervical cancer is a condition that is really, it is draining. It is draining. So if you have seen someone battling cervical cancer, you know what I'm talking about. So sometimes it doesn't sound so serious, and especially if people are just talking openly out here. So it doesn't sound so serious until you visit maybe a palliative care unit or a hospice, and then you get to interact with women who are battling cervical cancer. That is the only time you know how serious it can be. And we all know the pain that is associated with any type of cancer. You experience what we call chronic pain. Chronic pain refers to that pain that you experience every day. You have to be on the strongest type of analgesics or pain relievers because it is so painful. So cervical cancer is one of those reasons why you can get that chronic pain from cervical cancer. So cervical cancer is a killer. It's a killer disease. It's there, it's real. So people out here need to be careful. You need to take more caution. Stop sleeping around, because cervical cancer is caused, or it's brought about by a virus called human papillomavirus. So human papillomavirus is the virus that brings about cervical cancer. Now, human papillomavirus, or HPV virus, is sexually transmitted. And mind you, what you know, or what you know a bit about human papillomavirus is that the HPV virus is sexually transmitted, and men are the carriers of the virus. So that means sometimes men may not show any sign of not cervical cancer, but human papillomavirus. So men are the carriers of human papillomavirus. So we have actually about 100 different strains of human papillomavirus. So some are strong, some are weak. So if some are strong, that means they will bring about some disease, of course, but the weak strains are just there, and they will not cause any harm to you, or they will not bring about any of these conditions, and especially what we are talking about, cervical cancer. So human papillomavirus, or HPV virus, also brings about what we call genital warts. So genital warts, you can either get vaginal warts, penile warts, or anal warts. So we have the 3 types of warts. And you really know how embarrassing it is to have these things, to have warts especially. So I've said that we have so many strains that HPV virus exists in different strains. Some are weak, some are strong. So the most common type of HPV virus that brings about either cervical cancer or genital warts, we have HPV 6, we have HPV 11, and the most common is HPV 18 and 16. These are the strains that will bring about whatever we're talking about today, cervical cancer, and especially 16 and 18. They're the leading or the most strong viruses that are associated with cervical cancer. So it is up to you to prevent yourself or to protect yourself against getting these strains. Remember, viruses do what we call mutation. They do mutate. Mutation just refers to change in genetic composition of the virus. So it changes from the original type or the original strain to a new different strain because of mutation. So 2 different strains come together and they do mutate. So they change in the form. the change in the form. So you get a totally different strain. So that means, for example, if you sleep around, or you have a partner who has like a strain maybe 56. 56 is a bit stronger, but we have other strains like 78, they're a bit weak. So if you have someone, or if you sleep with someone, or you have intercourse with someone who has strain 78, and maybe from your side, maybe you have another different weak strain, like maybe 66. So these 78 and 66 may come together and do what we call mutation. So when they mutate, you get a different strain, and the resultant virus may be stronger than 16 and 18, HPV 16 and 18, which are a bit strong, and they are always associated with getting cervical cancer. So you can still get cervical cancer from viral mutation. So we have said that HPV virus is transmitted sexually, and men are the carriers. So that means you not know a man has HPV virus, and you get a strain that will give you either genital warts or cervical cancer. And I'm sure no one wants to have any of these. And still, remember, you can have different strains. You can be infected with HPV 6, 18, 16, 56, or different strains. So you end up getting cervical cancer, and at the same time you have vaginal warts and anal warts. So the condition can be really bad. So I've said HPV virus is sexually transmitted. So that one tells you one thing. To prevent or to protect yourself from getting the HPV virus, then you have to make it up to you, or it must be from your own initiative to protect yourself. So stop sleeping around. Don't have different sexual partners for whatever reasons. People get different sexual partners for different reasons. For example, you may be having a sugar daddy, you have your husband or your boyfriend, and maybe you have a male friend, or what you call friends with benefits. So you have different sexual partners. For example, you have 3 sexual partners. These are not your personal partners, because they also have other partners. So it will be like it is a triangle or a circle of intimacy and all those things. So you get different strength from different people. So that one, the more sexual partners you have, the higher or the greater the risk of you getting infected with the human papillomavirus. So we have said the number one thing that you have to start doing or practicing is being faithful. You must not sleep around. If your partner is promiscuous, then you have to find a way of talking to him or her so that they don't bring you the virus, because probably, and of course I've seen so many cases whereby someone will tell you, I have been so loyal to my partner, I have never cheated on him, but right now I'm battling cervical cancer because he brought me the strain from someone else. So he was sleeping around and then brought this strain to the wife, and now the wife got cervical cancer, and it was bad. So not just sleeping around, also you need to make sure that you're strict on your partner. Make sure, I don't know what you can do to make people faithful, because nowadays people are sleeping around. I don't know how you can do that, but just make sure that you don't live with a promiscuous partner. If he cannot or she cannot change her ways or his ways, then you better quit that relationship, because your health is important than the relationship. You can live long without a partner, but you cannot live long with cervical cancer. It will be just a countdown, then you'll be gone. Just take care of yourself. We say bodies are, well, life is personal. Live your life from personal levels. Don't sacrifice for someone. Don't stay in a promiscuous relationship because you love someone. You better quit the relationship and stay single and be safe. Okay? So we have said faithfulness and minimizing the number of sexual partners that you have or you will be having will help you in, you just find all the reasons to avoid or not getting the cervical cancer, the genital warts, that is the vaginal warts, or vaginal warts, penile warts, and anal warts. So don't have multiple sexual partners. So the other way to prevent cervical cancer, or or the HPV, of course, we have what we call human papilloma virus vaccine. So we have the HPV vaccine. It is effective, but the problem with this vaccine is that it is given mostly, it is given to young girls who are not sexually active, or girls whom we assume that they have had less than two sexual partners, different sexual partners. Because, for example, this vaccine is given from the ages of between age 9 and 14. So it is an assumption that these are kids, they are still young girls. Huh? They are still very young, so they have not had different sexual partners. If there is any of the girls who is sexually active, then probably they just have had one or just maybe two partners, but not more than that. But for an adult, from the time you became sexually active, or from the first time you lost your virginity, then it is likely that you have had so many different sexual partners. So that means if you have had different sexual partners, either you are in a serious relationship or it was just funny games, then you could have been exposed already to different strains of human papillomavirus. So that is why the vaccine is normally given to young girls who are not sexually active. So there is still research ongoing about the relevance of giving, maybe, or how you can still help adults, or just trying to find out if it is important to give adults this vaccine. Maybe they get the first dose, the second dose, and maybe probably even a booster dose. But that is still research that is ongoing. Maybe when the scientists are ready with the research, maybe they will find a way, they will find a solution to that. But for now, those women or those people who are eligible to getting the vaccine are just young girls who are not sexually active or who have not been sexually active. So we have said vaccine is key. So if you're a mother, if you're a father, and you have that young girl, make sure that she gets vaccinated or immunized with that human papilloma virus. The HPV virus, vaccine, at least protects you or the girl from about like 5 different strains. But the most common type of vaccine available protects you or protect the girl from at least 2 strong strains of HPV. That is strain 16 and 18. Okay. Yes. So make sure that girl gets immunized. So we have said, as an adult, don't be promiscuous. Check on your sexual behavior. Don't sleep around. Protect yourself and your family from getting that cervical cancer. Because the moment you get cervical cancer, it will not only affect you, but it will also affect the health and the lifestyle of the whole family and the relatives and extended families. It will not be good for you, because it is really draining emotionally, financially. Anytime you have cancer, it is terrible. It is terrible, because even going for those chemo sessions and radiotherapy sessions, they are a bit expensive. They're a bit expensive, so it will be draining so much. I'm sure you have seen that. You'll be doing so much of too many of the fundraising. It is a struggle, and eventually you'll go. You know that. So it is up to you to protect yourself from getting cervical cancer. The stigma that comes with getting cervical cancer and also genital warts, it's not easy. So there is this one case sometimes back, a lady friend of mine. She got actually we became friends because she was battling that cervical cancer. Yeah. So I really wanted to know her history. Her story. Because there is always a story to tell. So she told me everything about her. But again, from that hospital that I was at that time, it was a level 5. So chemo sessions were not available. So these sessions were only available at level 6 or a national hospital somewhere in my country. So this lady, she had booked chemo sessions already. But when you go for a chemo session or a radiotherapy session, then you must have at least a hemoglobin level or a HB of above 10. But you have to know that when you have cervical cancer or you have any type of cancer, leukemia or whatever, there is always a battle between the cancer cells and your blood cells. So definitely cancer cells are a bit too strong for your blood cells. So there is always that battle, and end of the day, your blood cells, and especially the RBCs or the red blood cells, will get defeated. They lose the battle. And the moment that one happens, then you get a low hemoglobin level, or you become anemic. You get severe anemia. For those sessions to be done, then you must have at least a hemoglobin level of above 10. Because of course, in the process of chemo or radiotherapy, of course, there will be destruction or damage of to some of your blood cells, including the red blood cells. So you realize that when you have cancer, then the blood cells lose the battle. So most of the blood cells are damaged, they're destroyed, and the production is less. The production declines and the destruction increases or spikes. So this one gives you, so there is always that battle. So my point was, so this lady really got stigmatized before she eventually left us. So she really got stigmatized because for those sessions, it was a must that she traveled. So she used to commute from her home place to the national hospital. So of course, she wasn't well up, so she wasn't driving. She didn't have private means to get to the facility. So she would actually, just use the public service vehicles for commuting. So remember, when you have cervical cancer, there is that destruction and damage of cells. So that cancer eats your cervix, eats your vagina and your vulva outwards. And then, because when this one happens, there is death of cells. When there is death of cells, then definitely there is like decomposition. It's like you're decaying. So there is a really bad smell that comes along with it. A very foul smell, very strong. It is not actually foul, it is rotten smell. I'm sure you have had an experience with maybe went past maybe a dead dog or a cat. You know how bad that smell is. That is what is coming from that cervix, from that cervical cancer. That is what you get. You can imagine how bad that smell is. So anytime she would commute, actually it got to a point that she was ready to just go without, just to rest in peace without even going for those sessions, because it was really bad. It was a really bad experience, because there was a time that she got into a public service van or vehicle, and then because of that bad smell, everyone alighted from that car or from that bus. It was really traumatizing. That is stigma. Everyone just leaves the car, and of course, the tout and the driver, they're in business, so they're in transport business, so they will not allow it that you just bought the car and or the bus and everyone alights and they're in business. You're the one who will, they would prefer losing you as a customer than losing the whole, all the passengers from that vehicle. So it was really a hard time for her, because after that she actually alighted the bus and she was left at the bus station, and it was really traumatizing. She really felt bad and she should actually cry, and there was no one to console her. So it was a really bad experience. And again, when she was in her house, she was a mother of two, still young girls, so they didn't know what was happening to their mother. So there was a time that the smell went out of hand, and these kids would ask my mother, like, why is this house so clean but we still get a very bad smell? Where is this smell coming from? And she would cry because she didn't know how to say it to the kids. And I don't know if she should have had confidence to tell, or to just sit the kids down and tell them, this smell is coming from your mama because your mama is sick. It was really hard for her. And then, of course, when you're battling such, if you're married, then you realize that maybe your partner just drifts off and leaves you and dumps you. So the husband, that is what this man did. So she was abandoned, and of course, due to that heavy burden of the expenses, the chemo sessions are expensive. The only people who will remain or stay in your life are your direct family members, the siblings, probably siblings, or even maybe the parents, the mom and dad. But it came to a point because they had actually started selling off some of their properties. Then, they realized end of this, she will leave us and then we'll be left bankrupt with nothing. So they also gave up on her. So by the time she came to rest in peace, then she had no support. She had no support from anyone. Her kids were sleeping hungry, so the kids became beggars. And it is a really bad experience because no one wants, not even a single parent that wants to see or to have the kids suffer after they die. I don't know where those kids are right now, but I don't know if they're suffering or if, I don't know. So point is, don't get to that point, whereas you can prevent yourself. So we always say prevention is better than cure. And the first step is what you call primary disease prevention. Prevent the disease from happening. So these are levels. Let me just mention the 3 levels of disease prevention. So we have the primary level of disease prevention. That one addresses or talks more about preventing occurrence of the disease, initial occurrence of any disease. Then we have secondary disease prevention. This one addresses more of preventing complications of a disease which you already have. For example, if you're hypertensive, you take medication to control hypertension so that you prevent complications like getting what we call cerebrovascular accident or what we call stroke. So you have a disease already, but you're preventing occurrence of complications which are a bit, they can be fatal. So you prevent complications. So secondary disease prevention addresses prevention of complications, disease complications. Then we have the tertiary level of disease prevention. This one talks more about preventing disabilities from a disease. For example, if you have been involved in trauma, maybe a road accident, then you have had a fracture and maybe an open wound. So if that is not managed, because you already have a fracture or you're already traumatized, if that one is not managed, if you have an open wound, if that wound is not dressed up and cleaned, then you get sepsis or you get an infection, a very bad infection, then you may end up getting amputated. You lose your limb or your hand because of that trauma. So getting amputated, that is a complication. That is a complication or a disability. So those are the 3 levels of disease prevention. So the most important right now is preventing occurrence of a disease, not waiting until you have the disease, then you're trying to prevent complications. If you are in a position to prevent or protect yourself from getting a disease or an infection, then that is the right way, and that is the way to go. So that is about cervical cancer, about human papillomavirus, and also now you also need to know, I also mentioned about the genital warts, the penile warts, the anal warts, and the valvular warts or vaginal warts. So they're also embarrassing. I'm sure you not want to have such, and especially if you're not married. So if you're not married and then you get these vaginal warts or penile warts or anal warts, how inconveniencing it will be. Like when you have a sexual partner, then there will come a time that this partner really needs to be intimate with you. So the experience, it will not be good. It will not be good. So I'll say that penile warts, vaginal warts, and anal warts, and cervical cancer, they are all preventable. You have just to adopt healthy sexual behavior. Stop sleeping around. Don't have more than one sexual partner. Then if you have that one partner, just be strict on them so that they don't go sleeping around and then bring you the HPV virus and you end up suffering around. So I hope you guys have learned something from this episode. Make sure you leave a comment, give me a thumbs up or a like, share the video with any of your friends, your female friends, and I would really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to turn on the post notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload new content.